Pregame.tv. I have to tell you, we're talking NHL. Steve Fezzik, Vegas runner here, and I'm a little bit upset because I'm talking. It's 100 degrees in studio.
It really is.
It's like that movie broadcast news where the guy's like flashes open his jacket and he's just saturated. Do you think they're going to notice this on the camera? And I got to talk about a hockey team that's nicknamed the Penguins. That's great. That's just great. Break it down for me.
Listen, I've been coming on doing these videos, and unfortunately, we haven't done one on a day where I've liked the dog, okay? I've bet some dogs in the playoffs. I've bet some totals in the playoffs. But whenever we're doing a video, the favorite has just jumped out at me, and
you've been winning.
Exactly. Except for that day, the overtime games, they've been getting the money.
Right.
You got to be select. We know when you're betting chalk, here's what one thing I've learned more than anything else is there's very small room for error. So you have to be so much more selective. It's not a case of never bet the chalk. It's not a case of if you're getting value and the line's minus 200, it should be minus 300, you should be afraid to lay chalk. But when you're laying that price, you have to be extremely efficient, meaning there's so little room for error. You got to be pretty damn sure the line should be minus 300 because you lose a lot of the units that way, and it's hard to catch back up. So I've been selective with the favorites, and I think in this spot, once again, you got to look to the favorite. Granted, this is as much of a contrast in styles as you're going to get. You got offense versus defense with Boston versus Pittsburgh. And in the playoffs, we know that defense usually wins. But the Pittsburgh Penguins have been able to get it done by outscoring the opposition once they brought Vokun in, and it gave this team the jolt it needed. Until that time, this team could have had problems. They may not be this far because they don't play good defensively. They're 12th in goals allowed, 16th in shots allowed. So your goalie's going to see a lot of action, unlike Boston, where they're 3rd in goals allowed. But the key here is Boston, unlike some of the better defensive teams, are 13th in shots allowed. So they allow a lot of pucks to go to the net. And I think that's why Pittsburgh has such an edge in this game and this series. If this was one of those teams that don't see a lot of shots, then I'd say, you know what? Defense will probably win the series. But because Boston allows so many pucks to get to the net, I really think Pittsburgh's going to be able to light them up, and I like the Penguins in this one.
Let me ask you, Boston had the miracle win when they were down 4-1. It was against Toronto, right? Where they came back all the way, won in overtime 5-4. Is that a character builder, or is that a sign, hey, if you're going to get down 4-1 against Toronto, that should never have happened?
I think it was a wake-up call, and they kind of proved that against the Rangers, because they did something they haven't been able to do pretty much all season, and for a while, they won in New York. They didn't win Game 4. They didn't sweep, but they won Game 3 in New York to really take command of that series. They went up 2-0, so that was a wake-up call from Toronto to get on New York 2-0. And there was wise guys, public, taking New York in Game 1. I like the Boston side. And
tons of money in that Game 1. They went all the way down to like minus 125.
Dropping. And I think it was a wake-up call. And then they really showed their character when they won Game 3 in New York. They weren't able to sweep. They should have swept. I mean, I tweeted out the stat, how few teams were able to come back down in the second period like New York was. They extended it to 5 games, but Boston got it done at home on Saturday. As expected, I bet them. I laid the chalk. But they're not going to win this game in Pittsburgh. They're not going to win Game 1 in Pittsburgh. Rask, as good as he's been playing, I really think he's just not going to be able to stop this Pittsburgh offense. 1st in goal scores, 2nd in power play efficiency. And unlike the Rangers, who had no power play at least the first 3 games of the series, that's not the case with Pittsburgh. So Boston gets in trouble, and they will on the road in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will get all the calls. Rask is going to see even more pucks at the net. I like Pittsburgh. I think it's easy.
They going to win it all?
If Chicago gets to the final, if Chicago gets past the LA Kings, I think Pittsburgh is going to have problems with Chicago. I don't think they'll win it all. If the LA Kings advance, then I think Pittsburgh beats them.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about that next week. Let's go ahead and make this one official here.
Defense usually wins in the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA. It doesn't matter the sport. When it comes to the postseason, defense usually gets it done. But this isn't the finals. Instead, look for Pittsburgh and their offense to get it done in Game 1 and get it done in the series. I look to bet Pittsburgh to win the series, and to do that, I think they're going to have to get out ahead of Boston and win this Game 1. They're just sitting there waiting for Boston. I don't expect Rance to have the success he did against the New York Rangers, not against this power play unit, and not against a team that could get the puck to the net like they have been able to. Offense versus defense. I'm going to go with offense here. Take Pittsburgh. They switched from Fleury to Vaucoon. That was the spark that ignited this club. Look for them to get it done and get to the NHL Stanley Cup.
Good stuff. I like it. So what were you doing when you were a little late for the baseball videos? Shows deep down baseball your least favorite sport?
No. I was waiting for props and stuff, the last line of props to come in.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to give up on that when the pipeline's feeding you.
And you're like ready to run out, and then the phone's going ding, 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 and you're like.
I tell you, every time in my betting career, every time that I've taken in a movie, which I never do, but during the
and had to call the love of my life on the way here too. That delayed it.
But anytime I get a text on a bet I should be making that I don't get or just ignore, a lifetime record, 28-1.
Of course, easy. And that one was like maybe a push in a lot of plays. In a lot of outs, it was a push. It wasn't even a loss.
Thank goodness for live wagering, because I can't tell you how many times I missed a bet, and the team will jump out up 10-4, and I'll lay 8 instead of laying 4.5 because I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah,
I got to get on the train.
Thank God for live wagering. That's happened to me so many times where I haven't been able to. Back in the day, you could pass post. Most books, you call them. It's a basketball game. The score's 2-2 or 0. They're going to let you put your action in.
Yeah, the days of
those days are gone.
And
it's over.
What's interesting about that is that if you could do nothing else but watch, and you had no opinion on a game, and within 10 seconds you got a basket, you have a positive expectation to go over.
Yeah,
because most of the time you don't even shoot in the first 10 seconds, so it's almost like an extra point and a half.
This is another video altogether, but there was a time where there were bookies that didn't even have the time changes in college football and college basketball. Boo, you learned the lesson. Great guy in South Philly, but when you're giving lines for a game that's already fine,
cut. We're going to go to commercial here. Stay with us. Hey, don't be telling people to bet the visitor to the over when the first guy up gets hit by the pitch, because it will make you a lot of money. Pre-game, not to mention that not just the man on first, but the effect of the pitcher being off is really strong.
Throw the bag, the Rosin bag.
Protest. Different video. Pregame.tv. Stay with us this weekend coming up Friday night. Marco D'Angelo, Mr. 3.5forks.com.
He's back.
He's up to 3.75forks.com. Check him out in Gaming Today, and talks about the best meatballs in Las Vegas. You're going to have to check out the article yourself to go ahead and find them. That means I can't pronounce the restaurant. Begins with an M. And Ken Thompson.
Motorano's?
And, oh, yeah.
Did he go to Motorano's?
Oh, it's so good.
He's from South Philly, man. Yeah. That's my boy over there. Yokas.
They
wear the Yokas T-shirts.
They do the best.
At the Rio, baby, Motorano's. That's where you want to go. The best people on the planet. Videos. Chicken cutlets.
Check it out. Pregame.tv.
God.
Critics.
That's where he went, the Motorano's?
3.75. He's always 3.5.